the first edition presentation copy of The Life of Samuel Johnson by James Boswell. I'm Adam Douglas from Peter Harrington, and I'd like to show you this copy. If we open it up, we see the familiar title page of this very well-known book. There's the portrait of Johnson. This copy has a tissue guard protecting the title page from any foxing and offsetting from the portrait. And on the reverse of the title page, slightly unusually, Boswell here down at the foot of the page has written out the dedication, the presentation inscription to Andrew Lumisden Esq from his old and much obliged friend, the author. Now this copy is in 2 volumes. It looks very much like the usual copy that you see. It does have, however, the principal corrections and additions to the first edition, which were published in 1793, 2 years later. They were published at the same time as the second edition. Rather nicely, in those days, you were able to buy the corrections without having to buy another copy of the whole book. And here again, on the verso of the title page, at the foot, he's written more or less the same inscription to Andrew Lumisden Esq from his obliged friend, the author, and that is in Boswell's autograph in his handwriting. Now, Andrew Lumisden is a very interesting character. He was an Edinburgh, well, he trained for the law like Boswell did, so they had that in common. But in 1745, when Bonnie Prince Charlie came to town, Lumisden ran off with the Jacobites, and he was actually at Culloden. He escaped from Culloden dressed as a woman and fled to France. He went to Rome and served the young pretender's father, the old pretender, until his death. And then he lost his enthusiasm for the Jacobite cause, and he tried to get himself back into the world of letters, which is really where he was comfortable, and the world of books. He actually managed to retrieve his reputation by finding some books in Paris and selling them to the king, George III, who eventually pardoned him and allowed him to return to Edinburgh. Now, the reason that James Boswell is obliged to him is revealed in a footnote at the end of the first volume. Down here we have, right at the foot, "My worthy and ingenious friend, Mr. Andrew Lumisden, by his accurate acquaintance with France, enabled me to make out many proper names which Dr. Johnson had written indistinctly and sometimes spelt erroneously." I mean, the number of levels of irony here, of course, because Andrew Lumisden's name is spelt differently here in print than Boswell spells it, and that's not the usual spelling of it. But you can almost hear Boswell's Scottish accent in him, dictating it perhaps, Lumisden. So we have that there. We have the, Lumisden had, in fact, deciphered this part of the life of Johnson. Johnson had kept a diary of his time in France, and Boswell hadn't been able to make it out at all. So further up the page we came to Compiègne and so on, with these are the place names that Lumisden was able to work out for Boswell, and so he presented to him in gratitude. This is one of 3 copies, presentation copies of the book that have come up into commerce that we're aware of in the last half century now. There were, I think, some 6 or 7 recorded in Pottle, so it's certainly a rare thing, rare in commerce, and a very nice association. You'll see here that Lumisden, having restored his reputation, was able to pass on the book to, this is his nephew, Sir Thomas Andrew Lumisden Strange, taking the middle name Lumisden in recognition of his forebear, who was, as this pencil note tells us, an Anglo-Indian jurist. And on the facing page, there is his son, another Anglo-Indian judge, again with the middle name Lumisden, so they were proud of their forebear. So this is a very nice copy of the book, the most famous biography in the English language, is often said, and a really superb presentation. For full details of this copy and for other 18th century literature, including Johnson and his circle, please see the Peter Harrington website.